Yo, what's good guys, what I'm fire here back from the video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another coverage defense that I like in Madden 22. Definitely one of the better match defenses to run. Super easy on the adjuster, so it's a pretty simple defense, and I'm going to show you guys the best way to run this. Again, some of the better plays in the game. Now we're going to go ahead and start out with the play. Now, the formation I'm in is going to be the 3-3-5 will. You can really run this almost out of any formation in the game. Those include 2-4-5, nickel normal, big nickel over G. Again, pretty much every formation has this play. Now, the play we're talking about is going to be cover 3 match. Again, I like this out of the 3-3-5 will. Cover 3 match is going to pop up right there on the right-hand side of your screen in that bottom section, cover 3 match play. Cover 3 match, always one of the really good defenses, especially with people who like to run cover 3. Now, one thing you're going to do, get some safeties at linebacker. We got Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker there. And yeah, pretty much that's all you're going to need personnel-wise. And yeah, we're going to have auto flip on for this particular play. We're going to pretty much leave our zone drops at default, I believe, because they are match coverage. So we're going to go ahead, jump straight into it. Now, offensively, we're going to be running a little bit of a gun bunch tight end formation. Maybe we audible to verticals a little bit later, but we're going to start out in bunch tight end, which is one of the metas right now, one of the better formations in Madden right now. And just starting out with cover 3 match, you see when you get out on the field, and again, this is default everything, you notice that it's a cover 2 look almost immediately. Now, not necessarily strictly cover 2, but maybe you want to move this guy out a little bit, but from an offensive standpoint, you're looking at the defensive play art. What am I really thinking? I'm pretty much thinking this is a cover 2 or cover 4 potentially, just from the play art. So it is a cover 2 show. It's a cover 3 match show 2, pretty much. Now, there are a couple of ways I think you can get this normal, but I like the way that this is set up a little bit more. So we're just going to leave it normal. Again, now what's the difference between cover 3 and cover 3 match? It's going to be 2 zones, and those include the seam flat and the instead of the curl flat. Now, a couple of differences. One thing is if you want to run a traditional cover 3 like this, there is a way to get a seam flat on this player right here, Jordan Lewis, your slot cornerback. The way you do that is you push your left stick up. That's going to put him in a seam flat. So there is a way to get him in that zone, but there's no way to get this safety in a seam flat. You can put him in all kinds of deep zones. The only flat zone you can put him in is a curl flat. So that is why we run cover 3 match. I'm not sure why Jordan Lewis is not showing his play art. Now we go. There we go, rather. Now, so we kind of explained why we run cover 3 match. But yeah, really, it's going to be the safeties are going to match on 2 things. And overall, just J-Ron Curse over here, he's going to play a lot better than normal curl flat would, defending routes. Now, generally, I'm going to use this guy, especially if we're a bunch of. I'm going to use Malik Hooker here. We'll leave everything else the same just for the first play, and we'll go ahead and snap the football. So take a look at J-Ron Curse. He's going to go ahead, follow the drag, and that is why I kind of stay over here so that I can lurk over, defend those deep routes that it's not going to reach. But here again is your play art. You see Curse immediately, he's going to kind of run down, lurk over, and then you see he actually lurks and actually follows it all the way over. So he's not necessarily stuck to an area. He's going to be able to be running free wherever he pleases to go, wherever the routes go. So that's why I like it a lot. One of those zones that is kind of like another user. But yeah, man, he does a really good job, and that's why with your user, you're going to run over here and you're going to lurk on the crosser that he does not follow. But you do see that Trayvon is in a pretty good spot here to defend this. I mean, realistically, if you throw the football from this angle, it's not open. Trayvon Diggs should get some hands on that, pass, and he is also able to run back far enough and defend Laviska Shenault on his deep poster route. So, anyways, moving on, I want to talk about some other things that these seam flats do. Now, one thing that they generally don't do, actually, I might have misspoke there, is they generally will not follow super deep routes, so crossing routes, over routes, but I want you to take a look at what they do with some motion. So, for example, we'll just block the running back, block the tight end. We'll throw Marvin Jones Jr. on a backside slant. We're going to motion him across. And I want you to take a look again at the strong safety position. So we're going to motion him from left to right. We're going to motion snap him. But take a look at number 27 right there in that spot. We're going to run it. And boom, he's going to actually follow this slant in before then going out. Something that you will never see a curl flat do. Something that you will never see a cloud flat do. So Soft squat, probably the only zone that's going to kind of do that, but here again, you notice it does shift back to a normal cover 3 when you do incorporate some of that motion offensively. So again, if you were an offensive player, you were a little bit confused, that would be a way to kind of know what the coverage is. So again, you see he's going to kind of start out in a normal spot, actually follows him in until our hook curl's more or less in position to make the play on that. Again, with your user, you're following him. Now, again, with Trayvon Diggs, he's a little bit pressed up. You see how he doesn't necessarily get back far enough, so maybe you want to move him back so that that is not a problem. Because again, maybe he's a little bit short against this formation, so maybe we just go with like a complete back him up. But yeah, so realistically, if I wanted to, I think if I set my flats to like a 25-yard mark, it wouldn't affect these seam flats if I am correct in that standpoint. I'm not sure if the seam flats categorize under the curl flats or the actual flats, so that would be something I have to check up on. But let's try some other combinations. Let's go with the corner route combination. So we're just going to run a basic concept out of the curl flat corner play like this. Again, keep everything else the same, and I will get into some adjustments a little bit later, but take a look at your defense right there. Really good. Now again, the seam flat is going to play the assignment of following any kind of an under route. If that is not the case, let's say they only have a streak, they do something like this. Who knows? Wrong play. Got an audible back. Let's say there's something like this. Again, with the seam flats, I said they don't necessarily follow deep routes, so I do have to kind of check up on this, see if he's actually going to follow it. Also, base aligning your defense should help with those guys playing outside a little bit more. So here we'll snap the ball. We'll see what the seam flat does. He kind of follows deep again, but he sits around that mark, so that would be a route that you have to use her. But again, it's just a little bit of a better cover 3, I think. Your curl flats are not going to follow that route anyway, but it does kind of give the impression that he actually is following it when you take a look at him earlier. So that could be, if that's a first read, potentially your opponent does have the chance to actually move off of him and go on to something else. So definitely can be helpful from that standpoint. But going into some of the different things with this play, as I mentioned, we could create another flat. So I put him in a hard flat, set that to 25 if I want him to play deep, or I could just leave him at a potential normal hard flat zone. And we'll just snap this again. See how the hard flat's going to kind of sit there. But again, the seam flat's still going to run in the same area, so there's not really generally a reason for a hard flat. Generally what the seam flat does is it's going to play the look of a deeper zone and then come down, make a play on the ball. It can definitely work down on crossing routes or shorter posts, slants, things like that. Let's get into bunch. I'm not sure what plays this bunch strong has, but we'll run some different stuff over here just to see what he does. But yeah, as far as different things you can do, you can definitely man up people. So with that PA boot over, we could man up a crosser, we could man up that corner out, which would certainly be helpful. You have 2 hook curls, so you're perfectly fine manning up the running back or manning up the tight end. Just because I want to see how these guys play, we'll run 4 verticals kind of stock. The seam flat, you see, he actually kind of does a good job. He actually plays pretty much a cloud flat assignment. Looks like he was playing the assignment of an outside cloud flat, but you have the third over the top, of course, so it is going to be, pretty much fine from that standpoint. So, but yeah, you're going to follow R1 with yourself. But what I was talking about, if it's curl flat corner, X spot, whatever play, you can man up Y over here, certainly if you wanted to, and then just use her over here, of course. So they run that play. Now you are in business. You see the seam flat's going to work over on that. You have man coverage, so we should be in the area. And yeah, man, that definitely is going to be some solid defense. As far as some of the other setups, you see setups like this potentially online. I believe the seam flat also does a really good job at defending these routes, these outside out routes with different players. So again, we're going to kind of base align. Maybe even I want to move Diggs back a little bit more. But if it's that combo, we can go ahead and man up Laviska Shenault if he's going back to that. Even without, that might be a good idea just to man up that deeper post. But now you see the seam flat, boom, perfect coverage on those out routes. I think this is a zone that a lot of pro guys have used to defend those out routes. It actually might be the better one, just because you see curl flats aren't going to do that. Even a 5-yard hard flat might not do that. Man coverage certainly not going to defend it the way that Jaron Kearse just did. And again, you don't have to move him down necessarily because he runs down immediately, so he should still get there in time to defend Carlos Hyde. But I'll show that route combination again. And I believe the hook curl actually should do a decent job at defending this curl. And then, of course, Marvin Jones is going to be taken by our opposite seam flat, Jordan Lewis. Let's say I don't want a seam flat over there. We can always put Jordan Lewis on a hard flat. We can always put him on a curl flat, whatever we want, cloud flat, but we'll put him back on that seam flat. Snap this ball again. There you see J-Ron Curse. Of course, it helps to bring him down. Certainly not going to say that as we saw right there, but he still is in a position to make an easy tackle. If you have Acrobat, a potential interception from that perspective or particular spot. Again, if you were going up against bunch, what you could do is, again, kind of create your double Mabel look if you wanted to, or just man some guys up. So usually the guys in bunch going deep, it's going to probably be RB here, so you're going to maybe man up RB. Depending on the player, it could be also the tight end going a little bit deeper. But maybe we just run it like this. You snap the ball. Oh, now we have the running. This guy manned up. You see A's kind of taken away. That I would, if I was an offensive player, I might be a little bit skeptical to throw this to James O'Shaughnessy on his tight end wheel route. And again, this is the short side of the field, but you see still kind of in position there. That wouldn't be the easiest throw in the world. You would need some abilities to help Gunslinger, but yeah, you can man someone up. You see, take a look at this seam flat, of course. If there's nobody else in his area, it is going to follow deep, but it doesn't ultimately usually go over this mark. I actually want to see if it is going to defend that route, so we'll go back to it, and we won't use man coverage, but I want to just see what Jordan Lewis is going to do for us on that opposite side. So we'll just use her like this side. Oh, we got A, bagged. And yeah, he doesn't follow him deep as I predicted. He kind of gets stuck at his zone drop type limit, but I do think these are going to be a little bit better than zone drops. I always like recommending, if you're only running a defense with 2 flat zones, to leave them at like 10 or 15 yards. This would definitely be better than that because these guys can go down and make plays, especially when there's no one else in the area, especially when they wouldn't defend it anyway as a normal cover 3 would. So can definitely be helpful in that standpoint. But yeah, overall they do a really good job at lurking. They're almost like another user in the flats, the way that they can follow routes and just take away things that would not normally be taken away. And again, there's not too many adjustments to this, but again, there you see it. Interesting enough, there you can also see certain route zones flip or switch assignments. So right there, what you actually saw was Jordan Lewis ended up taking the hook curl assignment, if I'm not mistaken, or because it's a seam flat, he actually took this route. And I think because of the match assignments, if they run with the seam, then this player's assignment is switched to the flats or the seam flat zone, or they could have just flipped zones. I don't think the hook curl would run with him that deep, but it is definitely interesting. You see, this is stuff that you're not going to see on the player, but it can be very helpful, and it can definitely be confusing to a defensive or an offensive player. So certainly one of the cool zones. Another thing I've actually tried doing is going with the man-align adjustment. So if you baseline, you man-align, what actually happens is these two guys, I believe, will switch assignments. So now Curse is going to play the third, Trayvon Diggs is going to play the seam flat. So if you go with, let's go back to this combination, as I motion the wrong guy, so we'll just run something like this. I believe Trayvon Diggs, now you see, Diggs does match there, but I'm not exactly sure. It looks like they both kind of match, so I'm not exactly sure what I was looking at. Maybe I was mistaken, but it does something, and I think that was clear. But that's pretty much going to do for the video. If you enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and peace. I'm out of here.